So I'm so glad that you're all here today for some restorative yoga. So restorative is really slow, and the idea behind it is that the more supported your body is, the sometimes more of a stretch you can get when you're doing a lot less. So today we're gonna bring in all the supports that we fancy. So a couple of pillows. You can have cushions as well. You can have like a big towel or a blanket, something that has like a little bit of substance to it. Like some of the ones that are really fluffy, they just shrink in. So it's nice to have something that just has a little bit of support. And then either a belt or a strap. So we're going to start today in a very comfortable position. So we're going to take 2 cushions like this, and they are going to be behind us. And then we're going to take 2 more here. And when I say about things being comfortable, so we really get to tailor all these poses to how we're feeling. If anything doesn't feel right, like with any yoga practice, if it doesn't feel right for any reason whatsoever, just come out of it. You can always skip it. You can always just come to laying down on the floor. All of these things can be modified, and they're just an offering if you fancy them today. So with these 2 behind your back, you're just going to slide them to the lowest part of your back so that your hips are still on the floor. And then you can bring the soles of your feet together and then slowly start to go back onto your pillows here. Your knees can come out to the side and onto the sides of the cushions. So with the cushions, if that's not quite enough support, bring them in a little bit further, or you can fold them and just find your sweet spot. So restorative yoga, we take a little bit more time to find, it's basically the sort of the Goldilocks principle. So once we're in it, we can start to settle and start to feel what's going on. So it might be that once you're there, you think, oh, you know, I'd love something behind my head. And then you might take your cushion or your blanket and place it behind your head. And this is part of the practice, this feeling out of what feels good. So much of our time in our body is getting things done or holding expectations or responsibilities. But in this practice, we're really allowing ourselves to feel. So we're feeling what it's like to have the floor underneath us. We're feeling what the cushions feel like. How much support are they giving? Can they give a little bit more? With every exhale, just allowing the body just to settle. And it's a process. And it might be as we come into this slowness that our brain actually kicks into gear and starts to rummage around and throw things, thoughts our direction, and that is totally fine. And with every exhale, just imagining that those thoughts are leaving your body with that exhale. Even if they're quite important thoughts, you can imagine them just floating off by the door. And just know as you leave the practice today, you can pick any of them up that you fancy on the way out. So what we're doing is clearing a little space. And this can be useful whether you've been really busy and running around, or you've been quite still. And what we're doing is giving our body permission to feel and to rest. So imagine giving permission to your toes. They have full authorization to relax here. And just notice how that feels. And then extending that permission note up into the hips. That your shoulders are sanctioned and fully supported in allowing to soften here. Even the muscles on the front of your throat are allowed to relax. And imagining the inside of your palate getting soft. And sometimes to do that, just opening your mouth a little can make us realize how much we're holding in there. Sometimes doing a little smile. You can smile at the idea of giving your body a permission note to relax. And just notice, if you did do the little smile, did your eyebrows soften, your temples, your forehead? And noticing how your breath feels here. So we breathe roughly between 17 and 30,000 breaths a day. And seeing with these next few how consciously you can follow them. Can you feel out the point that the air does a U-turn and starts to travel out of the body? Can you picture in your mind's eye where that U-turn happens? Just seeing now if you can start to allow that breath to move into a space about 2 inches below your belly button. And start to do the U-turn there. As you breathe in, your stomach expands like a balloon, filling up with air. And as you exhale, imagining everything coming out. Just doing a few of these breaths at your own speed. 70% of our body's waste comes out in our breath, which is quite a staggering thought. That we exhale our used up cells. But our out-breath is this incredibly efficient system of letting go of physical things we no longer need. So again, if any other little thoughts are popping up, concerns, considerations, expectations, seeing if you can attach them the way you would any little cells that you don't need anymore, and letting them disappear with that exhale. This position not only opens the hips, a slight back bend, it opens up the abdominal area, the chest, the shoulders, and depending on the angle of your head, you might feel it along your throat here. So it's a lovely position to get into to do a couple of deep breaths. And then the nice thing about all these props is they don't need to be yoga studio props. You can use the things you have at home: pillows, cushions, towels, blankets. And coming into the last couple of moments here, allowing your hands to soften, your head, your shoulders, your hips, the outer edge of your feet. And softly and gently guiding your hands down to your thighs, and slowly and mindfully bringing your knees up through center. And doing any little movement here that feels nice. You can start to take the cushions out to the side. Maybe just see how it feels to extend your legs here. Sometimes that doesn't feel that great, in which case just re-bending your knees. So just seeing what feels nice for you today. And if you want, you can take your arms out into a T shape. Sometimes that will encourage more of a stretch across the front of your chest. So depending on what's going on with your body, that might feel good or it might not, in which case you can have your hands further down by your sides. If your arms are out in a T and this is feeling really nice and you'd like to explore a little further, and you want to bring your arms up over your head, maybe bending at the elbow, maybe having them straight, you can. Just checking in that anything that you're doing is still allowing you to have a long, delicious exhale. So we're letting go of things we no longer need to hold on to. And to come out of this position, if your arms are up and overhead, just gently start to bring them down by your sides. And I quite like to do a roll to one side, but see how you feel. If you want to come up onto your elbows, you can and lift up. I quite enjoy gently rolling off. And we're going to come up to a table position. So we're going to take the pillows just off to the side. They're coming back, don't worry. And we're just creating a little space here to do a soft cat-cow. So just check how it's feeling underneath your knees. If you want a little bit more padding, taking that blanket and bringing it underneath your knees is nice. If it doesn't feel good on your wrists, you can make fists with your hands if that is preferable. And then softly start to lower your stomach. Let your chin softly lift, and then just move your hips slightly forward so you can feel your shoulder blades just gently round back and down. And then rounding through your back, press down into your fingertips to allow your back to round as much as it would like here. As you inhale, let your stomach come down and expand. So that same ballooning that we did before, the chin softly lifting. And then as you need to exhale, your belly button comes up towards your spine as you push down through. We're going to come down onto your back and then just have your strap handy. So coming down onto the floor, I see my pile of cushions is obscuring me a little there. Here we go. And then I put my bun in a ridiculous position to lay down on the floor. So the nice thing about restorative yoga is it gives you this time. So to feel, to adjust little things like where your hair is, to make this practice your own. And then taking your strap in your hand, you're going to bring your right knee in towards you. So we're just going to have the strap across the stomach so it's right there ready for us. So we're just bringing in the right knee and holding the right knee gently with your hands. And as you inhale, feeling that ballooning of your stomach into your thigh, and let your hands slightly move your knee away. And as you exhale, and your belly button comes down towards the floor, let your knee slightly come in towards you. So inhaling gently, the knee comes away. And then softly, the knee comes in towards you. I'm doing a couple of breaths here. It's a very slow, subtle movement. And then just feeling it out, remembering that Goldilocks analogy. See how it feels to extend your other leg down. And some days this can feel really nice, other days not so much. So if you prefer your knee to be bent, if that feels better on your lower back, if that allows your breath to be nice and soft, then just keeping it bent. If it feels delicious and lovely to have it straight, that's great too. There's no right or wrong. And here we have some options again. So we can stay in this position, holding the knee, or we might extend that foot up to the ceiling, and you might take the strap around your foot. So once again, you might come into this position, and then you might think, oh hell no, not today. And then just come back to holding your knee. And knowing that is a great choice, the oh hell no choice. So just seeing how you feel. Where your hands are on the strap. So this is really personal and again can change from day to day. Generally, when our elbows are on the floor, there's a softness that happens around the shoulders because they've got the support of the floor. But what we're looking for is to see if your jaw and your shoulders can relax. Sometimes when your hands are nice and high, they're taking the support of the strap from above, and your shoulders and your neck and your jaw can be nice and soft. So we're holding this for a little while. We can really go, okay, which one's nice today? If there's any shaking in your leg, just bend your knee a little bit more. So we're looking to stay away from any shakiness. And what we're doing is we're providing support for the body to allow it to stretch at its own speed in its own way. So one of the things that sort of illustrates this when I was thinking about it, like wondering, am I really stretching in this position if I'm not feeling a stretch burn? Is anything really happening? But when I started to think about why muscles let go, why they release, it's because they've deemed it safe to do so. Now, if we're running and we need to jump over a stream, our muscles will let us go only so far before they might let us leap into the air, but they might contract afterwards. They want to protect the spine, they want to protect the skeleton. But one of the things I read was that in order to find out whether someone had the ability to be a ballerina, they would check if they could do the splits while they were asleep. And that was because when we're relaxed is when we can access more of our full availability without the muscles contracting in a defensive response. So taking a nice big breath here, wherever you are, and exhale it out of your mouth. And then gently releasing the strap. Bring the knee in towards you. Do a little side to side with the knee here. Wiggle your toes a little. And then re-straighten that same leg or have it bent in. And here, you can slightly start to bring your foot out to the side. So again, it's a personal decision of what feels best in terms of how to hold. It might be that you hold with the left hand and with the right, and let it come slightly out, and just make sure that it feels nice and supported. Some people prefer to just use their right hand and take their foot out to the side. Again, that lower leg can be straight or it can be bent. And maybe thinking about relaxing your hips. And if your leg does not want to come out that wide, that's totally fine. Our hips are all different. It can just be slightly out to the side. And thinking about how much availability is there in the body when we relax. And then gently move that foot up to center on an inhale. And then maybe bringing it slightly across your body here. And it might just be a millimeter or two. It doesn't have to be a big movement. We're looking for a sensation on the outer edge of the thigh here. So again, you might be feeling it in this position. If it doesn't feel nice, just re-bend your knee and just take it slightly over. And taking one more deep breath in here. Letting it go out of your mouth. And then softly bring your knee back through center. Rebending your lower leg if it wasn't already. And then if you like, you can take your right ankle and place it on your left thigh, letting your knee gently come out to the side. And it can be quite nice just to rest here, even if you normally bring that knee up towards you. And just see how it feels. Breathing into that space about 2 inches below the belly button. Then, if you like, you can either use your strap around the front of your shins or the back of your thigh to hold that knee in towards you a little. So now we're getting the stretch to go up and into the hips. And just notice if your jaw or your neck or your shoulders start to tighten up, and seeing if we can a little space between the upper and lower teeth. So do a little smile. You can, if you like, do a little soft movement from side to side here. Relax the toes by doing a little wiggle of the toes. So nowhere's tightening up, making everything have a little ease. To create some pathways for the blood flow to move around the body into those tighter areas. And whether we've been doing a lot of sitting or a lot of running or a lot of walking, or this is an area that can get quite tight in and around the glutes, affecting the lower back. And taking a nice deep breath in. Exhale it out of your mouth. Softly releasing the strap. Take your foot down onto the ground. Now we're just going to lengthen both legs down along the ground if that feels nice. Taking your time here. If that doesn't feel good on your back, just bending your knees slightly. Maybe rest your knees onto one another. And then you can do a little shuffle just to nestle back and onto the floor. And just notice how that side is feeling. If it feels a little longer, a little flatter, a little fluffier. Notice if your right side and your left side have the same temperature, if they feel a little different. Letting your breath do whatever it wants here. So this time of doing nothing is actually really beneficial to the body. As we slow down, we send the body a message that everything's probably okay in this moment, just right now. So it can start to slow down the breath. We tend to want to yawn or sigh or a little bit more. Slows down our heart rate. And starts to change the chemicals that are released into the body and into our mind. Softly bending both knees. Take your feet as wide as your mat, and then doing a very soft windshield wiper movement with your knees here. So you can do it, an inch or two to each side, or you might go a little bit further. You might try it out and find that Goldilocks sweet spot. You might notice throughout the practice, and as we come into the second side, that sometimes the second side releases a little bit sooner. So now we're going to bring the feet hip-width distance apart And again, if there's any little shuffle, if you want to press down into the feet, lift your hips up slightly, nestle your shoulders back. Feel for the strap. And then bring your left knee in towards you. And as you breathe in, your stomach expands, letting your knee come slightly away from you. And as you exhale, you're letting the knee come in towards you. And just following your own breath on this side. And what we sometimes notice on the second side is that we've established some trust with the body from the first side. It knows the positions, it knows that we're going to go slowly, it knows that we're going to adapt when needed. And sometimes on the second side, we feel even more of a sense of allowing. But we're going in with the same level of curiosity, that same Goldilocks mindset. How does this feel? And if you like, you can take the strap and bring it around the bottom of your foot and extend your foot up towards the ceiling. Or if it doesn't feel good on this side, bend your knee a little bit more. And if it felt better just to have your knee into your chest, that works too. Your lower leg can be bent or straight. And you can change your mind at any time. Seeing where on the strap you can relax your jaw, your eyebrows, your temples. Maybe smiling it out if anything feels a little tense, and making things a little bit easier. So we're using the floor and the strap as support and safety for the muscles to relax into. Closing your eyes is also another way to send a message to the body that right now we don't need a heightened stress response. Everything's okay generally if we're closing our eyes, we're moving slowly. And the other thing that we're doing that is calming our nervous systems here is feeling. When we are in a heightened stress response, our body naturally disconnects us, so we don't feel every little thing. And that's what allows us to flee a situation and not get upset because we've bumped or grazed ourselves. Adrenaline is designed to disconnect us from the smaller, more subtle sensations. So allowing yourself to feel can start to send the nervous system back into the parasympathetic. The resting response that this practice is designed to access. And taking a last big breath in. Maybe even feeling that breath go into the place where you feel the sensation the most. And then let a deep breath out. Bend your lower knee if it isn't already. Place your foot on the ground and just release the strap for a moment. And just bring the knee in towards your chest if it isn't already. And then we're coming to those last two moments and movements where we move the leg out towards the left and then in. So you can choose to have your leg outstretched here, or you can choose to keep your knee bent. And just seeing how this side feels. So this side of the body might feel really different. And if you are beside, so I rested my foot on the wall here, if you are beside a sofa or a wall or something, it is not cheating at all to rest onto it. It's basically doing the work of the strap, and it allows your chest, your throat, your jaw, your eyebrows, your head, your hands to relax. And taking a moment to get nice and heavy here. And then gently, on an inhale, start to draw your heel or your knee up to center, and maybe bring it a little over to the other side. We're looking for a light sensation on the outer edge of the hips. Take a big breath in, big breath out. Slowly bring your foot up to center. Rebend both of your knees and take your strap to the side. And then take your left ankle and just place it on your right knee. And take a moment here. Noticing what your breath is doing. Maybe sending your breath now lower than your stomach, maybe sending it down into the hips, imagining the hips ballooning with air. And then letting that air out of your mouth. Doing that one more time. And any tension that you feel in there, imagining it leaving with that breath. An incredible system of getting rid of things that we no longer need. You can stay in this position or start to bring your right knee up towards you. You can use your strap around the front of your right shin, or you can bring your hands either around the back of your thigh or the front of your shins, just depending how you're feeling. Putting a slight right angle at that ankle. So if you were to look down at your right knee, you would see your left ankle and your toes pointing up towards the ceiling. And then just see if you can relax the toes there. Relaxing the jaw. You might wonder why I keep mentioning the jaw. You might be one of those 60% of people that holds their tension and maybe grinds their teeth at night. And more of us do that. You might be someone who doesn't hold your tension there. But sometimes we don't even know that we do. You might be someone who's an eyebrow holder. In which case you can think of the eyebrows being smoothed out. But because this practice is so slow, we can find out these things. And that can be quite useful to take off the mat into our lives. Knowing that when we feel some tension, where does it go? Even in our face. If you like, move your knees very softly from side to side. See how that feels. If you prefer them just nice and still, and keep that. If you want your foot just to come down onto the ground, you can stay here. Giving your body full permission to see what it likes. Take one last big breath into your hips here. Let it go out of your mouth. Softly take that right foot, place it down onto the floor, uncrossing the left, and gently bringing it down, and coming back into that neutral laying on the floor position here. And noticing how your body is feeling now. Sometimes it's quite common to have a rumble in the stomach at this time, and that can be a sign of the nervous system calming down. So as we move into a rest and digest response, literally we can hear our stomachs gurgling sometimes. So our stomachs often hold on, waiting for a time when it's safe to prioritize the absorption and the processing of our food. Which is why many of us feel stress in our stomachs. So perhaps taking your hands and just resting them gently onto your stomach. And even giving that area permission to relax, to rest. Feeling the heat of your hands against your abdomen. So how we're feeling and our stomachs are very closely related. Random side piece of information. When we blush, so does the inside of our stomach lining. This is often a place that we feel excitement, trepidation. It's connected in to how we are feeling. And then softly re-bending your knees. And roll onto your side here. And just take a moment making a little pillow for with your arm for your head as you roll over onto your side. We've been laying on our backs for a little while. So we want to be nice and slow as we come up to a seated position. Keeping your head nice and heavy. And we're going to come back to these lovely cushions. So for this next one, we're going to, so it depends how squishy your cushions are. So what I would say is, let's take a blanket and do a little roll with it across. And then maybe take the cushion and just place it above. And take these other cushions out to the side here. And then have another one handy for behind your head. So everyone's neck is different in this position. So this is going along where the middle of the back, so where the bottom of your shoulder blades are. And then have a pillow above, just in case you want it, for behind your head. So you want to come down nice and slowly here, over the cushion. And if it feels like your head's really far from the floor, just take the cushion behind your head and give yourself a little support here. You can see that we're doing an upper back bend. Your knees can be bent here, or they can straighten down along the mat. Your arms can come out to the sides in a T shape, or they can be in cactus arms. And once you've been in this position for a moment, you can see, is that a good spot? Are you having the Goldilocks experience with the pillow? Or would you like to rest your head back onto the floor? And you might change your mind, and you might not. So just see how it feels for you. Again, everyone's back is going to feel different. If this isn't feeling nice, then just come out of it. Instead, you can come to a lower version of what we did in the beginning, taking one pillow, taking it lengthways behind your spine, and lay down onto that, maybe with a pillow behind your head, and taking your arms out into a T. So those are two options. The most important thing, whichever option you are doing, is that it's comfortable. So here, we're allowing, there's nothing to do. Allowing ourselves to rest into this shape, using the support of the floor, of the pillows. And just noticing how your breath is feeling now. And gently bending your knees. And then rolling to the side to come out. And gently coming up. And this is where we're going to build a little high rise of cushions. So you can have them be as high as you want. You can create like a little triangle if you like with them. And then take your blanket and bring your legs up and over. And then lay down onto the floor. Take your blanket. And then just cover with the blanket. Unless you're feeling hot. If you're having a hot flush right now, then no need to do that. And the nice thing about practicing at home, you can, if you're flushing in one of these positions, you can always just lift up your shirt. There. It's actually really common as we relax, for those of us prone to hot flushes, to get flushes as we relax. And it is a sign of our nervous system's calming down. So again, even with this idea of having a blanket, we get to tailor it for our bodies, how we're feeling. And once you're in this position, doing any little movement, maybe take your knees a little bit wider, maybe relax the toes, and maybe bend the knees a little bit more, squish the pillows around a little bit, just imagining yourself sort of nestling into the ground, sort of finding comfort and support in it. You can have your stomach, hands on your stomach, or hands by your side, palms face up. And this is our final pose, Shavasana. It's where we seal in the practice. This incredibly slow, supported, rest-inducing practice. And we've moved around the hips, the inside of the thigh, the back of the thigh, the outer edge of the thigh, the inner thigh. And we've put space in and around the glutes, which can affect the lower back. We've opened up around the chest, shoulders, and in a back bend, lengthening the abdominal muscles. Now your body gets to absorb all of that. can move into its restoration, prioritizing sending blood flow into those muscles that felt a little tight, a little creaky. Can prioritize refilling our tear ducts, can prioritize repairing our skin. So far from being unproductive, this time be really vital. And revitalizing. And gently wiggling your fingers and your toes. You can make a little circle with your wrists, maybe with your ankles. If you like, you can stretch up overhead, you can straighten your legs, point your toes and take a big breath in, and then maybe do a big yawn or a sigh. And then take your feet and just bring them on top of the cushions. And maybe take your blanket to the side. And slowly roll over onto your side. Once again, just making a little pillow with your head here. And then gently coming up to a comfortable seat. So we'll just end by sitting however you would like. Legs outstretched, you can sit on a cushion. Just closing your eyes and checking in with how you're feeling. Knowing that even this act of checking in, feeling things out is available to you at any time. When stress and uncertainty crop up, knowing that you can check in, feel it out, experience something with that Goldilocks mindset. To start that process of unwinding. I hope you all have a lovely rest of the day. This has been a pleasure.